Hey, Travis.
Howdy.
Hey, the man behind the camera is today. In fact,
I haven't pushed the button yet, so I'm not technically.
Oh, you're not on camera
I'm
yet?
not. You're on camera.
Okay, so this is the great reveal then. So for you all that have been watching for or listening for quite some time, Travis has been gracious and kind enough to help out. I pay him in bourbon sometimes. Probably again tonight. He might get a splash of bourbon as payment.
A swig,
just a little bit. But he's been very gracious to help guide the ship here and make things much easier on me to get things out. And I've been very grateful for all that. And there's a lot of people that, and you're not around, there's a lot of people that ask about you because they never see you. They don't know what you look like.
See, sometimes that's a good thing.
I
so
know,
maybe I won't turn this camera on at all.
Well, that's not fair to me.
Oh.
So we're going to have to show your face here in a minute.
Oh.
But, I've thanked you a lot. But I thought Dr. Roy couldn't be here tonight, and I had a gentleman that was going to come on that's I would consider one of the most expert in Bitcoin in the area. One of the people that can speak at it at a very high level. He wasn't able to make it tonight, and so rather than not shooting tonight, not having a podcast, like let's just try something different. So we moved the podcast room around.
We're getting ready for all kinds of stuff. We've got a new machine coming.
Got a new machine coming, so we're not going to have to use Travis's equipment. Thanks to Uncle Jerry for the gracious donation of he's agreed to donate to the podcast on a monthly basis. Will help us bring a better equipment. Help us do more advertising to get the reels seen more, and do more advertising.
Thanks, Uncle Jerry.
Yeah, Uncle Jerry is a fantastic.
That's gonna be weird for me because that's my grandfather's name, so I got to say Grandpa Jerry versus Uncle Jerry.
Okay.
Thank you, Uncle Jerry.
I'm not going to use his last name, but anyone in the area that's ever heard of Uncle Jerry will know who we're talking about, and so that's going to allow us to do a lot of really cool things. Going to actually try to add another podcast per week. I was thinking about trying to do some solo things with just sharing clips and some commentary. I don't know if I'm that interesting or not. We'll see. I might try it out a little bit. But I really do like the conversations like this. And so it'll be really cool actually talking to you, to your face, having other people, seeing us interact. I think it's going to be really cool. And there's a lot of subjects that you and I can delve into that we are both very interested in, that we never go in a really deep level on the podcast because you're the man behind the camera rather than in front of the camera. So without further ado, I think this is a good time to introduce
hit the button now?
Mr. Travis Fischer. And I want you to, before you, I don't know, did you flip the camera?
No, not yet. No.
If you want to tell people that maybe don't know you who you are or why you're here or just whatever you want to say. I'm not trying to. I know we didn't really talk about that, but introduce yourself just a little bit.
Sure. Well,
Travis.
There's Travis. He's on now.
I need the thing that makes all the noise.
It's over there.
Ta-da!
with applause and things. Right?
Yeah.
So anybody who's watched us or listened to us has already heard me a lot, and to start out why I'm here, you and I kind of met each other at a different type of benefit, but the reason...
It was 100 Guys Who Care, I think.
Yep, 100 Guys Who Care.
Yep.
And so that's kind of how you and I met. But the reason why I'm kind of here, I think, is, we've talked about it before, was the disaster that was COVID. I think that's why I really wanted to be part of this and help you get the word out and help you and Doc or you and whomever get the word out. And it's very kind of... near and dear would not be the right words at all. Like I hated that time. I lost a grandparent in that time, not to COVID, but she was in an assisted living facility, and I used to go see her every time I was back in town, my hometown. And when COVID hit, they locked it. They locked it down. And so the only way I could visit her was through they would give her an iPad for an hour on Friday afternoons, and the whole family. So there'd be like probably 12 faces on a single little iPad for my grandmother, who sort of had a little bit of dementia, but it wasn't too bad, to try to understand what was going on. For a little while, we would visit outside the window. Like they would let you do that, but then she kind of that really kind of confused her. Like, why are you out there and not in here? What's going on? So we kind of stopped doing that because that seemed to do more harm than good. So we just kept to the iPad. just for an hour on Fridays, and she really started to go downhill pretty quickly with that. I think she was just lonely. My grandfather had passed away about a year and a half before, and then finally, the only time that the last time I got to be in the same room as my grandmother was after she had, I don't know if you'd call it slipped into a coma, but she was, her eyes were closed and they no longer opened ever again. They told us that she had to be on her deathbed for them to let us into her room. I mean, that's really what they said. Thanks to good old Dr. Fauci and all the stupidity that was COVID. So anyway, brought us all down there for a minute, but that was really why. That's why that whole situation really, I mean, just pissed me off. I mean, the whole thing was just so that, and then other family members who, I have a niece who was a senior in 20, and she lost all of it. She didn't have a prom. She didn't have a senior prom. Didn't have graduation. Any of that kind of stuff. So, anyway, so that's the reason for being on the podcast. But I think the other part of it too is that I am a very tech savvy guy. I am in the tech sector currently. I do software and AI development for a company here in town, and also do some derivatives analysis and analytics. So the software and the AI systems that I am creating all have to do kind of with companies' ability to be able to do accounting, custodialship, trading. Because like when you give your premium to your insurance company, that day that they give it to you, they pretty much invest all of it. Like the whole point is they're investing that, and then the only time they pull money out is when they have to, pay out and that kind of thing. So we deal with some stuff that does that. But before that, I was in the hardware IT sector, so I did actual networking and just the physical stuff. So I think that's another reason why I'm here, is because I understand computers, soundboards, tech and data and all those good things. And I'm not a complete idiot, so that kind of helps. I mean, I kind of am. If you ask my wife, she'd probably say I was.
We're both dudes, man.
Dudes.
We've got that going on. And so just to clarify, your grandfather, he passed away before COVID hit?
Correct.
Okay, so it was
that grandfather. So I have one. I have my dad's mom and dad are both still with me. My mother's mom and dad have both passed. But yeah, her husband, the one that died in 20 due to loneliness, I'm pretty sure it's not on me. I'm going to totally forget to change the cameras around.
Hey, so just if you're watching the video, I know there's a fair number that do watch. A lot of people just listen. Travis is in a different seat tonight, so he's usually paying super close attention to either if I'm Dr. Roy or myself is speaking, or if I share a clip, he's usually like Johnny on the spot with making it happen. Now that he's having to think about stuff to say and timing wise, he's gonna mess up the video a little bit from time to time. Let's just give him a break on this one. Yeah. We'll fire him next time, or we won't give him any bourbon or something. I don't know.
I'll be docked my pay for the day,
or maybe I'll give you more. I don't know.
That'd probably be better. I'd be hitting the wrong buttons altogether. I'd be surfing Facebook over here on my tablet. No, but yeah. So her husband had passed away about a year. Actually about a year, I guess, before. It was just a little over a year before she passed away. But he didn't die of COVID.
And they were married for a long time.
She didn't die of COVID. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Probably 64 years or something.
That's amazing.
Something like that, probably.
Well, I don't know what the exact numbers are, but there is a thing, you said she died alone in loneliness, and a lot of that was because she was isolated from you all. And, there is a very significant number of people that die, if they've been married for a certain amount of years. I think for every decade after like 25 years or 35 years, like people typically will die within like 6 months of each other. Even if one's not super sick or something, it's just kind of a weird things that we do when we're lonely. And that's been your primary companion for that amount of time.
And I think we were, not that the other side's not close, but we were a very close family. So, like I said, I went to see her. I was one of her grandkids, of course. She had 5. 3 of the other ones lived there in town, so they would go see her a lot. And so once COVID hit, like she just lost all of that. And then I don't know.
So that's the thing that lit the fire under you.
Yep.
And you knew that
she was kind of like my mother when I was growing up.
Oh yeah.
So I mean both of those folks were kind of like my mom and dad. I mean, I love all my grandparents, all my family. I love my mom and dad. They were very young when I was born. I mean, still in high school when I was born.
Yeah.
So those grandparents were pretty much like my parents.
Sure. Yeah, so I don't know where to go with that specifically. I mean the
kind of my background.
No, yeah, and the reasoning why we're both here is kind of in the same vein. I was very vocal on Facebook. I don't know how.
When I smelled the BS, like that was the whole part of it. During that time, I smelled the BS. I'm like, I'm being held from her for no real reason. Oh yeah, really, but
yeah. And so it's important, even this many years after it, to me, from a historical perspective, and to prevent future things from happening again, is to continue having these conversations and to never forget. There's a lot of people that say, when you talk about 9/11 and the Twin Towers, you're talking about, you hear the words "never forget." I don't necessarily want to always remember the tragedy and the death and all of that. It's you need to remember what caused it. What is the thing that happened, and how can we try to not allow that to happen again? And I think that's what kind of drew us together on this project. And myself being on this journey for several years now, I don't want to say that my goal has ever changed, but because I'm studying and I'm researching and I'm finding more and more people who think like us, in the vein of not necessarily politically aligned with every, check your name by the Republican or the Democrat, not that way, but just in seeing through hypocrisy, wanting to know what's closest to truth, so we can actually make our own decision on what is best for us and our family. And we just don't get that from the media. And that popped up again this week. I don't know what percentage our people are in this area versus out at this point, but we had a big fire up in Warrick County in the last week. And first, a big shout out to all the firefighters and the first responders, the people that rush into those situations, just like 9/11, without thinking about their own health and safety. A lot of times, breathing in things. I mean, I'm sure a lot of them had masks and tanks and everything because they knew there was chemicals involved. But I mean, those guys and gals are exposing themselves to some unknown things. An explosion, a bigger explosion, could happen at any time. So, any criticism herein that we give about what took place in Warrick County and what continues to take place here in Vanderburgh County has nothing to do with those people. And in most instances, most people that work for any of the companies that we're critical of, they're not bad actors in any of this. They're just trying to make a living, pay the bills.
There might be 3 people in Evansville Center Point that are really people you could point a finger at. The rest of them are just trying to make a buck, like trying to make a paycheck, like just their job. There's no reason to.
Well, I mean, there's probably a decent group of size group of them that might be able to kick and scream and cry a little bit more to corporate.
Maybe for fear of losing their job. The whole reason why I haven't been on camera.
That's the tyranny. Yeah.
Now I'm on camera. I have changed jobs and a while ago, almost a year ago, but my concern was I didn't really, I did this before that time, but I made sure we just kind of used my first name. My face was never out there. We never tagged me in anything.
We were talking about doing a Travis emoji and having you speak.
Like having almost an anonymous or something.
It was pretty sad that you have to talk like that.
We had a lot of ideas for that, and it was just because fear of losing my job or alienate part of my client base.
Well, that's right. Stuff. That's right. Oh my God, I'm going to knock everything. I moved the water from there, so this is all new for me too. But I mean, so and this comes up regularly whenever we're talking to potential sponsors or people that want to give money to the program. So we kind of are equal opportunity offenders, meaning I don't I feel like I'm more aligned with the Republican Party now than the Democratic Party, but there are issues that I align more on Democrat. But like for people that love the program and love what we're trying to do, if they splat their name on it, they might offend half their audience. And so, I understand the complexity and the, how it's difficult for some companies and some people to donate. But like I said with Uncle Jerry, he's not asking me to do anything. I'm not going to talk about his business on air. I will promote him as I have for the last 10 years. I'll promote him outside, off air, because he just runs a great business and he's a great human. But I mean, that's kind of the support we need more and moving forward. Travis does work full time for another company. He volunteers himself, gives up an evening a week from his beautiful daughter and wife, and we're grateful for that. But I feel there's more that we need to do if we need to replace the media apparatus that will. I don't think it'll ever really heal itself. I don't think it can fix itself because of the way it's based in the corporate world.
Nobody. You brought up the fire. Did you notice nobody really? For the first 15, 16 hours, Nobody chimed in. The only way I knew it was going on was through a Facebook. There's a Evansville Watch on Facebook, and they were posting things and whatnot, and they were listening to scanners and trying to figure it out. But
yeah, and I was real critical of the way it was handled, but you're right. So I posted something on Facebook, and there's a big back and forth on it, and I said it's not on media anywhere. So these toxic gas is going up into the air. Or,
I think it was magnesium. Have they come out to say what it was?
I don't think they've released it still, which is just kind of I just don't understand what the benefit of not telling us what it is exactly. We live in Evansville, Vanderburgh County, and it happened in Warrick County. So the wind was blowing away from Vanderburgh County, so we weren't downwind necessarily of the ash plume or the fumes. But if the wind could have shifted, it could have happened. There's several problems that I have with this the way it is, and I've thought about this many years ago when we really first got into thinking about tyranny. So we have FEMA and all these different groups that we pay tax dollars pay for. In case of emergency, what do we do? And I think we've been hit with several different things over the years that is a wake-up call to some people that they need to really take care of themselves. And I think most people agree with that. I'm okay with taking care of myself, but the problem is you've got a lot of people out there that can't take care of themselves necessarily. I started criticizing both the local media and local leadership because they weren't making any effort to really blast any kind of big event thing going on. Like, they didn't know how bad it was or wasn't. They didn't know exactly what chemicals are in it. And our local administration here in Evansville, I was critical of them because I'm like, look, this ash plume and all these chemicals are going to end up in the groundwater. It's going to end up the ash is going to end up in the Ohio River. That turns into our drinking water. It's going to roll downstream to us at some level. So why are we not talking about it? And people online were defending the mayor and the mayor's office and the city. And I'm like, it's not just about because it was blowing downwind, we don't need to talk about it. There's people in counties and states all around us. It was a bigger story in 2 states over than it was here in our own city.
Yeah.
It's nuts. I just don't understand it. And to the point that even a local retired
news anchor.
News anchor. I guess he is a journalist technically, but he's a news anchor. Brad, I'm not going to say his last name, but he actually made a post that was kind of in line with something that I had said a day or two before, and he was critical of his own industry. He's like, I don't even know what we've become if we're not covering things like this. And I've invited him to come onto the program. I've reached out via Messenger. If anybody knows Brad, I'll just say it, Brad Bird. Who cares?
He's a public face.
He's a public face, yeah. And
for a long time.
And he's put his head out. He put his neck out there. I want to thank him first and foremost for doing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even though he doesn't work for, I think it was Channel 25.
He retired about a year ago.
Was it Channel 25? Is what he worked for forever? It definitely wasn't 14. I don't think
it wasn't 14.
I think it was Channel 25.
Yeah,
I don't think it was 7 either. Anyway, it doesn't matter. He was a longtime figure. He's got a tremendous amount of followers on Facebook. I think he's a very well respected, well liked person here in town. And he said basically the same effect. He's like, what are we actually doing if we're not here to inform the public of these things?
And that's a big deal. And kind of like you just said, that was from what I gathered from the information that I was getting, I think the wind was kind of heading in a southerly direction because they brought up that Henderson was impacted. They were putting some shelter in place in Henderson, which is in Kentucky, across the river, like you said. So if it's crossing the river, it's dropping sediment. It's dropping into the river.
Sure.
So, I mean, it's a great, I saw that the Evansville Water Department, They made a post saying that everything's fine, but I mean, how do we really? I mean,
well, they say our water's fine now, and no, it's just not. You can smell chlorine in it.
Oh yeah,
it tastes nasty. I mean, if you
smell the egg in it, sometimes.
Oh my God, it's so terrible, and it's got fluoride in it. It's sulfur.
Sulfur. There you go. Yeah,
it's got fluoride in it. Who knows how many pharmaceutical chemicals it has in it? What are we not measuring that actually does come through?
I have seen where some people have talked about that, where when you flush unused pills down the toilet or flush anything, or even like
your urine still has
hormone treatment. So I've seen
birth
things
control.
about like estrogen from birth control. Yeah. But even like like I just said, I remember when we were just talking about it. It would be my Uncle Rob's birthday today, heavenly birthday. It's funny that I get to bring that up, but
happy birthday,
happy birthday, Uncle Rob. He was awesome. He was awesome to me. He died of cancer. Cancer sucks. But he died about 14 years ago. No, let's see. We were married in 11 years ago. Excuse me. He passed away about 11 years ago. And I remember hospice being there, and they that's how I believe that's how they got rid of all of his medication, all of his stuff. Is I believe they flushed it all, because they didn't want anybody else to have access to it or anything.
Which I understand that.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, that all gets refiltered, right? I mean, I don't know, but I hear what you're saying there on that.
Well, so I mean, again, with all of the, first of all, we're the most medicated country on the planet.
Oh yeah,
and there's a lot of things coming out, even though people are kicking and screaming over everything RFK says. There are a lot of things coming out that we just don't know what we've been exposed to, and because studies haven't been properly done. We have pharma and our public health agencies have not been forced to hold each other accountable, because they are, in a revolving door corruption captured system. So I mean, they basically go from the FDA to somewhere in the political realm. Then there'll be a lobbyist, and they just kind of shift around, and they're in front of when the policy is made. They know what the policy is whenever they start working for the company, so they know how to get around, and basically not be held accountable and profit along the way. And so one of the big, that's one of the big reasons why I have a real be in my bonnet it's I could say something much stronger. I'm trying to keep this one clean. In the Democratic Party is just how much they flip-flopped on this one particular instance. You and I have talked about it a lot. Had friends that I don't want to say unfriended me, but they just tuned me out. Friends that wouldn't let us come over to their house because I was unvaxxed and our kids were unvaxxed. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, my wife got vaxxed against my better judgment. She regrets it every single day. And I think I can probably look back and say, find 5 really good things I did for my kids. And keeping that thing out of them was probably one of the best things I ever did for them.
I did it too.
Yeah.
Like I kept it out of
and it was super hard. Well. It was super hard. I mean, there was so much pressure coming from all angles, and
you're going to kill grandpa.
And I don't blame anyone that was pressured into it. You weren't provided with proper informed consent. You were pressured at the social level. You're pressured by the so-called experts, the doctors, the scientists.
Sometimes your profession. Your employer, I mean. Yeah.
Everyone in the media, the Project Mockingbird clip that we showed that had everybody saying the exact same thing, like it was. I mean, it definitely was scripted. Mm-hmm. And so, again, this podcast, I hope everyone understands, is not about me or Travis or Dr. Roy or anyone that sits at the table pretending to be smarter than anyone else. What I think you and I both are pretty good at is sensing things and having listening to our gut instinct and the signals that we catch. And the thing that I think we need to teach our kids is, I don't want to say once a liar, always a liar, because I do believe, people sometimes make mistakes. Some people are, have bad information, and a liar is different from someone that is not telling what the actual facts are. If
some
it's
of them
facts
have
as they know
malice,
it,
and they may not have malice.
Yeah. I mean, if they're not meaning harm and they truly believe what they're saying, obviously that's not a lie. Mm-hmm. They just are not facts. They don't have the facts in line. And so, but what I think you and I both try to do, I know I do very significantly, is as soon as you are a known liar, or if you've done 3 things and you're unwilling to admit it or acknowledge it or whatever, I just basically write you out of my life. Mm. And I don't mean that. I mean, they don't know me at all. But like, if someone says something like that and there's a clip of them having an interview or whatever, I just just not going to listen to it. You don't need to, unless I'm trying to find a signal that what are they lying about next? I mean, what are they getting forced into now? I mean, you can look at people like that and get some benefit out of that. So anyway, I'm not sure how we're going to go about tonight, but I one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, we've talked about it a little bit, but I've really gone kind of all in on the orange pill. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it's people that come to understand, first introduced to Bitcoin for the first time, and then start to learn the ins and outs of what Bitcoin and other cryptos are. If you're interested in other cryptocurrencies. But I've read a book So I invited Travis to a local meetup, and I've invited him again in September. There's another one going on this month.
Hopefully I'll be able to hit that one.
Yeah, so I think it's September 24th or something like that. I don't remember the date, but if anyone listening to this is interested, let me know. I will get you the date. You can be my guest. Travis is going to try to make it. I've got a couple other friends that are definitely going to try to make it. There's a couple guys that I invited the last time. They're going to be potential future guests on the podcast.
I'll only take pictures and do autographs for the first half hour. So
then you got to get paid in Bitcoin. Only free autographs. Or are you going to?
No, it's all free for the first half hour. Then I got to pay attention to what's going on up on stage.
There you go. Well, it's not really a stage. So these meetups are really just kind of like you and me going out to a bar, but there's like 6 or 10 or 20, and they're like, people, why are you here? What got you interested in Bitcoin? Why, what are you trying to learn? Whatever. Okay. So it's more of like a networking thing than anything. And I don't know if it is a rule, but it seems like it is a rule. Like no one's trying to sell anybody anything. So it's not like you're getting, coming into the cult, man.
Yeah.
But Bitcoiners kind of make fun of themselves because it is kind of like a cult, just because once you understand why Bitcoin has become, I don't know, the foundational change agent that it is. I think it is. Let's not speak out of turn here. I'm trying now to find the smartest people in the area that are interested in talking about it. You're a very intelligent guy. You're dabbling in AI anyway. So to me, these, the energy conversations that we're having, the Bitcoin, AI, all these things are kind of quasi-related, but I read, I think I'm just a few pages away from finishing this book.
What you got there?
It's called Modern Chains. It's by Neil Flesher. The Invisible Shackles of Economic Slavery. And obviously that's a very strong title. Mm-hmm. And when you talk about slavery, that'll probably get us canceled by a couple people, no matter what. But it's a very interesting, the first big chunk of the book is a lot of philosophical arguments about what ancient slavery has been for thousands of years, what it was when it came here, and kind of how we thought it went away. The way this gentleman explains it, and a lot of people other in the Bitcoin space describe it, is our fiat currency system. Basically, we run, we're printing money, so we're a debt-based economy. Mm-hmm. So everything that we do is based off more and more debt. So we have to keep creating more money out of thin air, which most people, I think a lot of people understand that there's no way that it can't cause inflation. Mm-hmm. Like the more money you put into circulation,
the more stuff's going to cost.
The more stuff's going to cost.
Like, yeah.
So the interesting thing about Bitcoin is there will only ever be 21 million of them, mm-hmm. and I believe if Bitcoin does what it's promising to do, is be a tethering device to help us fix the inflation and fix the fiat side of things. I don't think the dollar will ever go. I mean, the dollar could go away like any other. I mean, I think we're like the fourth longest lasting money ever. I
just hate that Doge kind of stopped before they got to the gold reserves. Yeah, I was really wanting them to open up, some of those, see what was actually in there.
Did they completely stop? Or they just have gone quiet? I don't know.
It's gone quiet. I don't know if they've completely stopped. I know Elon's not part of it anymore, really.
I think it was a little bit of a political, like they were losing points to a lot of people in that realm that wasn't politically beneficial for them to be operating things.
Yeah.
And there's some things I think in the beginning it was really it was important to blast all the corruption, just so people knew how much there was, and we're like trying to make heads or tails out of things. I kind of think it was a little bit too much, though. Like the everyday thing, I think it was just.
You say it's too much, but I mean, there's that much going on.
No. I'm not saying to stop it. I'm not saying to stop exposing it. I'm just saying like the press conferences and the finger pointing and all that. I think they can get a lot done without having all that going on all the time.
It's true.
And I mean, Doge is still one of my favorite things that's happened during the whole administration. So what I thought I might do, me and Travis have talked about this. We're having a lot of luck with shorter clips because a lot of people don't have an hour and a half to 3 hours, which what we usually sit down and talk for. Mm-hmm. So I've been doing some shorter clips, and people have really been getting a lot of feedback both online, and I saw 3 people today, just randomly say, "Hey, I'm seeing more and more of your stuff. It's cool, man. Awesome." So I want to mix it up a little bit today. First of all, because it's just me and you, When I share clips, I really like, and I'm going to share some clips later. We got some humor things. We might make fun of some people or make fun of ourselves. But I thought what we might do, because I found this book to be, especially the end of it, to be kind of a very good summary of where we've been and where we are. And I think there's probably 8 pages. I don't know if we'll get all through it, but I'm going to read at least a paragraph or maybe a page, and then I'd just like to kind of get your feedback on it. And we've never done anything like this, but so I don't want to know if it's
like a poetry jam,
like a book club.
Am I gonna start snapping like instead of clapping? If we have to?
Yeah, well, maybe if whatever works, man. So this is from page 302 of the book Modern Chains. The title, or not the title, the heading of this one says Moral Courage, and I'll maybe get through this whole page if it all. I might stop if it makes sense to stop. Far too many political leaders fail us, profiting from a morally corrupt system instead of selflessly serving the common good. They are not the brave stewards they claim to be. Each election cycle intensifies their urge to cling to power, hollowing out any desire to wield it with virtue. Eventually, they become mere props in high office, shriveled husks of honor, cloaked in a pretense of decorum, yet pillaging our future with grinning impunity. They speak in polished platitudes, wrap themselves in a flag, and sell our children's birthright for pocket change. They stand at podiums gesturing like demagogues while their hands bind us and their policies suffocate our descendants. But here's the truth no one wants to admit. They are only as powerful as we allow them to be. It makes no difference if a handful of them are, quote-unquote, well-intended or, quote-unquote, trying their best, if they are not actively dismantling the modern monetary edifice of enslavement. They are serving it. Their sincerity cannot absolve them. Only decisive action can. Blaming them, while it make us feel righteously indignant, does not absolve us. It was on our watch that we let the fox into the henhouse. We claim to care about the sanctity of our institutions, but could not be bothered to ensure the right people were on the job. We swallowed their lies and with lazy convenience, trading vigilance for comfort, responsibility for distraction. So that's the first page.
That's pretty powerful.
It's so there's a lot of big words in there that I maybe could use some different words. I had to actually look at one of those just to make sure I knew what it was. But yeah, so I think what that did for me is put a spotlight kind of on where we are and what has happened. We kind of dance around it a lot. We talk about perverse incentives and we talk about blaming politicians or what can we actually do to make the changes we need. The podcast is based on fighting tyranny. What does that mean? Well, part of it is you got to spotlight liars. You got to point out hypocrisy. You got to seek as much truth as you can, even when it's really painful or uncomfortable or something that you didn't know before and maybe you were wrong about. And there's all these things that we've tried to hit on. But at the end of the day, what I think I'm getting to with the Bitcoin journey, and I don't know if you have anything to say on that first page, but what I feel like I'm getting to is, I've said it for a long time, and I know you've probably said it, but I mean, most all corruption, most all bad things that go on around us comes back to money. Like it always comes back to money, whether it's high center point bills. We obviously know that's corporate greed. That's us paying for bad policy. That's, people in Texas aren't paying as much as we are here locally. There's all kinds of different things going on. At the end of the day, it's for profit. They're out there trying to make quarterly profits. But if you look at any institution or any segment of the things that we're trying to fight, all the bad stuff that's going on out there, basically it comes back to money.
Money or control.
Money or control. Sex.
Power.
Sex is sex is a driver for some because
Yeah,
sex is a driver for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And people that don't have money, it's a driver for them. But people that are seeking money, obviously they'll, So anyway, I probably ran right over that first page, but I don't know if you had anything to say. If that,
I mean, I think it hits the nail on the head. I think it kind of shows why a lot of people, even though he's not the perfect person by any means, I think a lot of us, chose to vote for President Trump because he kind of is about as far away from that as anybody has been in that office for a long time. You know, people are like, well, you know, he's filed bankruptcy 37,000 times, whatever. Yeah, but he knows how to handle money. He's got money. He doesn't need other people's money. And so he can't really be monetarily corrupted, really. And so I think he is looking out for our best interests more so than anyone else really has in my lifetime that has been in that seat. And I think that's why he won, you know, in 2020. Or I mean, in
well,
well, yeah, I misspoke, but did I misspoke or misspeak? I mean, in in 16 and then in 24, and I think in 24, I believe he won he actually did get the popular vote that time.
He won everything, all swing states, all popular vote.
Yep. And I think a lot of that just comes down to, it's funny you use the word husk. I mean, that's pretty much what Biden was for at least towards the end there. I mean, and I don't think anybody's going to fight me on that. I'm not saying that Democrat bad, Republican good or anything, but I think most of what happened the last 6 months of his tenure, he doesn't know what happened. At least.
The auto pin story still, hasn't been fully told.
They're still kind of trying to figure that out, I believe. But I mean, so anyway, to just try to comment on at least that first page, I think he's about as far away. He's further away from that portion of corruption, I think, than anybody that has been in the past 30 to 40 years at least. And once again, I don't think he's not. He isn't perfect by any means, but I mean, I think that's where that is. And I think that even the most recent before him administration kind of shows how far of a husk it can be. I guess that's really about all I have to say.
Yeah. So part of this podcast tonight for me is I kind of wanted to obviously put you in front of the camera, talk about why you're here, bring back around why I started the podcast and what put me on this journey.
It's something I was going to say a little earlier. Sorry. You saying that again kind of reminded me. This all started, you asked, I talked about my grandmother and everything. It all started due to kind of almost medical tyranny. But once the veil was lifted, like kind of once we saw what happened in 2020 and kind of 21, and then now that we know a lot of it was lies, a lot of it was fake, a lot of it, all of these things, like it's provable now. We're kind of at that point we were conspiracy theorists.
Right.
Now it has opened my eyes to look at many other things in a different viewpoint. Not just medical tyranny. So, I mean, everything I said had to do kind of with medical, had to pretty much do completely with COVID. But I think that is just what took the shades off my eyes and let me kind of see how, oh, wow, so I can't just trust my government. Like before that, I probably kind of almost blindly did kind of trust the FDA, trust, the health organization, trusted doctors. I mean, and once again, when we talk about malice, a lot of doctors, even Doc Roy was talking about how he was recommending. He was like, yeah, you need to get this, and then he kind of finally figured out, wait a minute, this isn't, I was wrong. And so just not being able to have that trust in all of these people and places anymore, I don't have trust in them anymore, but no longer having it built into me where I need to trust them. Like I need to more look at them, do my homework, figure out what's going on, who's lying, who's telling the truth, who is going to gain from this, who has no dog in the race or whatever you want to say, no dog in the fight. That's the person I'm probably going to listen to, not someone who's going to financially benefit like Fauci did. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to kind of say that because it's more than medical now for me. I look at everything now.
You've noticed the patterns that are going on around you, and you're like, this. That's
the only good thing.
This smells a lot like this other thing that's been going on.
I think that's the only good thing that came out of COVID and came out of 2020. I think it opened a lot of eyes, and I think that's why we have people that are interested in listening to us.
Our sound guy's going to be mad at you for hitting the table.
For some reason, it's not as loud
when you do it.
When I do it, I don't know. I don't know if it's just because I'm not listening from over there or what, but like when I do it, I barely hear it.
Hey, just because I'm laughing at Travis, if we start making noise like that, he starts looking at us like.
Yeah, I usually do, but like that's not like. Well, see, now that's pretty bad. But anyway,
he's also a drummer, so he's doing some percussion.
But yeah, so yeah, you can continue onward. I just wanted to kind of say, I mean, it's open.
Well, you said the trust door, and this is an interesting kind of little, door that I won't go too deep down. But I mean, one of the things that a lot of Bitcoiners will say is Bitcoin doesn't require trust. There's things out there that you kind of have to trust people in certain instances. When you're driving down the road, you have to trust that the person on the other side is not going to cross the center line and run into you. There's things that you have to have those relationships and the mutual respect and trust going on out there. But money shouldn't really be one of those things. Like money should be a tool that you can use to protect your dignity, your sovereignty, and your family. And as it is, the people that are in charge of printing money and manipulating money are using it against us. And so the thing that really has turned my eyes towards Bitcoin is the lack of needing to trust. Like you can pull your money out of systems that you don't like if you don't want your money funding things that you don't like. I mean, there's a way to do that with Bitcoin, which I love. So this kind of, I definitely wanted to hit on this clip of where the podcast was, where it's been, some of the things we've covered, and where we're going. The goal when starting the podcast wasn't just to sit down with Dr. Roy and Travis and complain about medical stuff and open our own eyes to different things that were going on, from AI to energy tyranny to all these different things. But what it has revealed to me, and where, Bitcoin and monetary side of things wasn't, I would say, in the top 10 of things that I was super concerned about, even though I knew inflation was bad. I knew that whatever. But once you really, I think, capture the essence of Bitcoin, it kind of changes your filter and view of everything else. And I really feel like for the first time, probably just in the last month and a half, I've just kind of had a light switch go on. So where we've been is I'm going to still talk about tyranny where we see it. If we have people or events that happen and we feel like, our audience would benefit from hearing it and to see what's going on. Obviously, we want to bring those things back, but we want to bring them out so people can see them. But what I'm trying to get at here is fighting tyranny forever is probably something that is going to have to be done. What I feel Bitcoin can bring is a really good tool and a really good weapon to fight it in a different way that most people really don't understand yet. So even I think this conversation between you and me, because I don't really know, I know you do some Bitcoin and you do some other crypto. Mm-hmm. So I think I want to talk about that next, but let me read maybe the next page. I want to definitely get through a few pages here, because that first page just kind of laid a foundation of, what I felt like kind of where we've been. And I think what we're going to get to is kind of where we're going. So page 303, chapter 13, Final Reckoning. We disarmed ourselves, pacified by their smooth words and false promises. We allowed ourselves to be lulled into compliance, numbed by entertainment, pacified by consumerism. While our leaders stood idle in the face of evil, or worse, actively participated in it, we stared at our screens, scrolled endlessly, waiting for someone else to save the day. We must be courageous now. We must stand firm, anchored in moral truth. This is not about some vague political grievance. This is not about red versus blue, conservative versus liberal. No official's personal virtue or heartfelt rhetoric matters if they cling to the monetary machinery that grinds our liberty into dust. Intentions fade into irrelevance when their votes, decrees, and policies prop up debt-based enslavement. Only those who tear at the roots of the system can lay any claim to moral legitimacy. This is about stopping the circus created to keep us bickering while others loot the tent. This is about survival. This is about dignity. In every chapter of this book, we fortified the objective basis for morality upon which we stand and say, enough. So there's 4 bullet points here. You are worth it. Bullet point 2. Your children are worth it. Bullet point 3. This nation is worth it. Bullet point 4. Humanity is worth it. The question is not, what do you have to live for? The real question is, what do you have to die for? When you answer that question, when you truly confront the implications of your mortality, only then will you understand the immense significance of your life. The petty comforts, fleeting distractions, and hollow promises of an evil system evaporate in an instant. The perception of our insignificance preserves the status quo. When we think our actions do not matter, we do what is easy. We need a reason to do something hard. The men who carve civilization from stone, who shatter chains, do not choose the easy path. They know what is worth dying for. So you can read a lot of books in your life, and part of the podcast for me is a little bit of a call to action and a little bit of trying to wake myself up in instances. These pages really hit hard with me because you now getting in front of the camera especially, but take whatever it is you want to say about what we do. It does take bravery. And I'm not saying it's right, we're right about everything, or I'm right about anything. What I'm saying is I know we've been lied to for a very long time, and I know that we have to change something. And, my podcast, sitting with you, our podcast together, however many podcasts there are out there, one of the things that I really have always been frustrated by is nothing really ever comes to head with them. Like there's great conversations, there's great clips. And part of the reason for me podcasting was I wanted to put these clips out there and then talk about it and think about them. Like, what can we do with this information? What are we actually doing to stop whatever that was from happening again? And I think this book, these few pages here that we're going to share, put kind of a battle plan out there that I hadn't really thought about. So I'm sorry, I just rattled on a lot there. You've got anything to say on what I just read or anything else?
I mean, not so far. I see, and I think we may get to it as we talk about it a little more. Is I'm kind of using the Bitcoin tool as an investment more so than a means of currency for me. Only because as of right now, our world's not really set up to to use it as currency much yet. I think once we get there, then we'll be able to have some significant change in the cryptocurrency realm a little more. But like, if you wanted to go buy groceries with your Bitcoin, you couldn't really do that, right now. If now I could do something for you personally. And since I have a crypto wallet and you have a crypto wallet, you could pay me in crypto. But a lot of people don't have that set up yet. So, I mean, for me, I'm using it more as a tool for an investment at the moment. That doesn't mean that I wouldn't think to use it as currency. But anyway, that really isn't anything to do with and I haven't had the camera on me at all for any of that.
Well, good thing I wasn't picking anything.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Making weird faces.
So now it's on me, and I'm done pretty much. But
see, there's humor. There's humor whenever we don't even want to have humor.
Yeah,
we laugh.
But ultimately, I don't really have much to say necessarily about that page. Okay. I mean, it's not. I don't. Most of that is just. I'm nodding. I'm over here like
yeah. Well, so some of this stuff I think we're going to get back into a little deeper, but. You are, in fact, right. One of the guys that I'm going to bring in here actually is trying to find bridges to help us integrate Bitcoin into more day-to-day things. For those of you, I think at this point, a pretty good chunk of people probably have heard of Cash App. Mm-hmm. Cash App does now allow a service where you can actually buy Bitcoin directly on Cash App. So I think we're going to get into probably some little bit more technical things in Bitcoin a little bit later, I think, because I do want to talk about some of the terminology and the things that I'm coming to understand more and more and see how it might integrate better into society. But as far as what you said, I also am using it as simply I don't know what they call it, HODL. So what is you're just basically buying Bitcoin and holding it. There's no intention to day trade it. There are a lot of people that trade it.
I actually have a system set up. I've got a couple of trading bots running. Well, so I'm going to get into the weeds with some of this. So we don't necessarily have to talk about it right now. But I do have a couple of bots that have gain and loss indicators, and after it gains so much, it'll sell. I'll take the gains and then I'll reinvest those once it drops to a certain, so I ride the waves with these bots. Now I do just flat out buy sometimes, but I also ride the ebbs and flows of Bitcoin by creating these and then it will sell, sell high, buy lower. And
I think we can get into those weeds. I definitely want to get into those at some point. Because I'm interested in not necessarily selling it for the purpose of making money. I'm truly using it as a long-term hedge against enslavement and against monetary debasement. I'm using it just for that, as much money as I can stack. If what they are, some people are predicting Bitcoin could double in a very short period of time. Like some people, somewhat experts, or what I would consider them, reputable people in the Bitcoin space, are saying it could get to 250 by the end of the year. I don't think it'll get that high.
I wish I'd held on to my like 10 I had back in like 1998 or something, or whenever that was. I think I had more than that back then, but
wow.
But that back then you like bought a pizza with like, eight Bitcoin or whatever, like $800,000 was a pizza.
Crazy.
Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, so I think I definitely want to get into some of these nuanced questions discussions in Bitcoin. Let me. I think I just have another page and a half that I wanted to get through. Next segment here. What?
That was my clapping.
What is worth dying for? When you recognize that the monetary system is not merely broken, but deliberately designed for enslavement, pretending nothing is wrong becomes a moral failing. Participation feeds the system, strengthening it. The false dualism of victim and oppressor crumbles under the weight of reality. We are hylomorphic, not simply victims, but also accomplices. I cannot be complicit in the enslavement of my children. These are bullet points. The next 6 things I'm going to say. First one is I cannot be complicit in the enslavement of my children. This is not something I am willing to accept. I will not sit idly by and let this evil persist. I love my children too much. I respect myself too much. I love you too much to speak anything but truth. So those were 6 bullet points that I think are kind of like moral foundations of what makes me tick. Honestly, I mean, when I think about this podcast, I didn't think about starting one with any intent of making money or making it a job, making it something that I'm going to do more and more of. I do it because I love it, but I also do it because I don't hear the conversations that I think need to be going on at a local level, but all the way, regional, national, state level. We're just not talking about the right things, in my opinion. A lot of things you and I talk about a lot is the AI stuff and the displacement that's going to, and the chaos that it could cause. We didn't have conversations about social media when it got put onto the scene and how that's affected our kids. Have we had any real conversations about infinite screen time is doing to the? I mean, we throw it out there and then we deal with the fallout from it. And
unless you have people like us who look at it and kind of study it and then realize, like my daughter, she really only gets screen time on the weekends, and it's timed. Yeah. She doesn't just get infinite screen time, and I don't think your children probably had infinite screen time necessarily. And I think that I should probably turn my camera on while I'm talking. But it is a problem. There are some people who, I think some of that boils down to the parent. Like when you talk about blaming the parents for things, a lot of people try it, or for a long time you didn't blame the parents. It was you blamed the kid. It wasn't how they were brought up, and it's more so how they're brought up. It's more so the parents that are the problem.
It becomes a babysitter.
Yeah, because that's where I'm getting. I mean, if you go to like a restaurant or something and you see younger children, the parents will give them a phone or give them a tablet and it is their babysitter. And I get that to an extent. Maybe it's some people just use it sort of as a television, and that's kind of okay. Like you can throw.
They used to hand us color crayons.
And we used to sit in front of a TV. Yeah. Whatever it was to just keep us occupied.
Well, I'm a little older than you. I only had 3 channels as a kid. And so,
when I was a kid, I think we only had like 35 channels. Like
there was nothing on during the week that I would watch. It was only Little Rascals, Superman, all that stuff.
But we were outside a lot more. I drank a lot of hose water. I wasn't home until the street lights came on, and that's totally not a thing anymore, really. No. It's really not a thing. No. And to be fair, I was kind of in a smaller town, so I would be more comfortable having my daughter do that versus... Nothing wrong with where I live now, but I don't know that I would necessarily be okay with her just being out and not know where. I mean, my parent on a Saturday, if we didn't have anything planned from like 9 a.m. to like 6 p.m., my parents had no idea where I was because I was at a buddy's house, or I was at the pool, the public pool, or I was at the basketball courts, or might have ridden my bike up to my grandparents' house or something, but nobody had cell phones. Nobody was calling anybody. You were just going wherever you were going.
Fishing and hunting all day for me.
Yeah, that I did. I went fishing sometimes, but I mean, it just they just didn't know, and it's not that way now. But it's technology's different now, and we went to a Cardinals game over the weekend, St. Louis Cardinals over in St. Louis, and we have an AirTag pendant. So it's kind of dressed up like it's just a pendant, but there's an AirTag in there for my daughter, and I have her wear that because I'm just.
You just never know.
You never know, and I don't know if that's changed or if we just are more informed about how terrible the world is.
Well, I
don't know which it is, but I just, since in my head I see the things, I know of the things or whatever that can happen. Abduction. I mean, she's a redhead. That's actually more sought after because there's not as much, and not as far as red hair. And so in my brain, I'm like, nope, I want her to wear this AirTag thing. And so once again, that wasn't something 30 years ago when I was her age. 34 years ago when I was her age. But it is now. And I utilize that technology to try to keep her safe. So yeah, I don't know where I'm going with that. But ultimately, going back to the screen time and things, it is used as a babysitter a lot. But I think it might just be a different avenue than we had as a babysitter maybe 10 years or maybe 20 years ago or something. Like you said, it was like you set a kid down in front of a TV, or even before, maybe coloring with crayons, or when you were a kid, listening to the radio. No, I'm kidding with you. But be sure to drink your Ovaltine, that kind of thing.
Well, I mean, one of the big things that we have to deal with, as I laid down the line for me, these bullet points that I felt are, what is worth dying for. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you started talking about your daughter, family, my close friends. I mean, I'm a very loyal person, and I will, I'm not afraid to sacrifice myself if it means saving someone else. But the moral of this is, we have to inspire each other to not just sit idly by and allow these things to continue happening as they have happened. The screen time situation, I mean, think about how that was amplified during COVID. Mm-hmm. I mean, kids were not going to school. When they're at school, they're not on screens most of the time. They have that human interaction, that one-to-one. And, when they did COVID, obviously they were screen time
that was
at school.
Yeah.
And then, and not, not as much parents, fault because, parents couldn't necessarily stay home all the time, keeping their kids engaged in something. So, I mean, I think people that didn't use technology and screens for babysitting kind of were forced into it a little bit. I'm not necessarily saying that's okay, but it is what it is. It happened.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it has to continue to happen. We have to kind of see the things that are going on and make the change. And I guess I'm going to maybe try to finish this last page and a half and then wrap up this little segment. But again, I just think that this whole little piece here really not only tells the story of why we are where we are today, it also paints a picture of what it might look into the future and how we might work together to do some things. When we frame economic issues in moral terms, when we strip away monetary noise and see pure moral signal, all those so-called, quote-unquote, financial hardships people fear along the way become laughably insignificant. They have convinced us that freedom must be stable, predictable, and risk-free. A flat line is the most stable of all heartbeats. It's the pursuit of stability our leaders will choke the very life out of civilization. When we get misty-eyed watching documentaries about the greatest generation storming the beaches of Normandy, we appreciate the enormity and the unfairness of the task put before them and are filled with gratitude for their bravery. We must channel that courageous spirit because it is our time to defend that same freedom, right now, right here. We cannot stand idle, hands in our pocket, mumbling out volatility. We must reject this cultural anti-natalism, this hollow consumerist nihilism, the self-inflicted apathy that insulates the monetary system from resistance. The system thrives on people being too distracted, too demoralized, too empty to fight back. This one I put in quotes because I felt like this next paragraph is probably my favorite out of all of it. Hopefully it lives up to what I just said. I have nothing but compassion for those drifting through life searching for meaning. No strong attachments, no binding purpose. I empathize with their struggle, but in that aimless state, they are rarely motivated to stand against oppression. Do they have anything in their life to die for? Anything greater than themselves? Or has all the significance been removed from their lives? I do not say this to trivialize individual hardship. Loneliness and despair are painful realities. Yet the system's greatest trick is persuading you that apathy is a safe refuge. With no firm roots, no sense of responsibility to something larger, they pose little threat to those who see our children in chains. To me, it's very significant. There's a few other pages, but I think that's enough for this segment.
So does that book go into? So most of what you've said is that we need to fight it. Does that book go into how we fight it?
How we fight what?
The monetary slavery that we're currently in, according to that book.
So
a lot of what you've hit on was just that we need to fight this slavery. We need to get out of this slavery. We need to help our children. But how do we do that? Just by investing in Bitcoin or using Bitcoin?
Part of it is, I think, the journey of understanding what Bitcoin promises, what the promise of Bitcoin brings to the table. I can think of a lot of things just right off the top of my head that we can use it as a tool. And I'm not saying this because this is anything that I'm thinking about there, but there's things that pop in my head that that I think not only, so if you look at Bitcoin for the last 10 years, it has been a steady, it's had some volatility. It goes up and down, but if you look at a chart of it over the last 10 years, it's pretty well a curve up the whole time. It's had a couple of bottom periods. And if you look at our dollar side by side, as far as what the value of the dollar is worth and inflation, it's like kind of in the opposite direction. And so to me, if we can train ourselves and train others to understand that Bitcoin is the hedge that everyone should invest in, then it protects your future and your retirement, because it basically, if you buy, if you just buy it as a part of a retirement plan, and it continues to go up in value, like I said, there's a lot of experts saying it could go from 112 or 110, wherever it is today, to 250 even by the end of the year.
It was about 112.
Now I don't think that'll I don't think that'll happen, but I won't be shocked if it happens. Then there's people that saying, within 5 years or 10 years it'll be up to $1 million. So if you think about that, if you, for whatever way you can buy $110,000 and have yourself a Bitcoin right now, if you hold onto that for about 10 years, there's a pretty good chance that it's going to be $1 million. And so what does that do? Well, that's not a little sum of money. And if you think about the standard, if you keep it in money in stock and you make 7% or 10% year over year, that's great. But the dollar is still going down, so everything that goes into that system is still tied to a fiat currency that's worth less and less every year. So once you adjust it to inflation, I don't think it's, your returns aren't nearly as good as what it seems like.
That's when I was a kid. I was probably 12 or 14, and my grandfather and I had a pretty deep conversation. And I don't know how it started, but ultimately he opened my eyes in the fact that if I just had $100,000 and I just put it in a safe, just cash in a safe, then in 10 years it's not even worth $100,000 anymore, because of inflation and things. And as a child, I didn't think about that, or as a young, not really young adult, but preteen, whatever. I was like, I didn't think about that. That 10 years after, it's still $100,000, but $100,000 has much less buying power 10 years from now versus what it does now. And so if you're not investing your money or having it somewhere, if it's just sitting, then you're technically losing money. So if you're sitting on a checking account with $100,000 in it, you're just losing money every day, because it's slowly losing its buying power. So yeah, I see where you're coming from there to an extent, but we also have to, I guess, even if we just take the step in Bitcoin to utilize it as our financial vehicle, and then when we have to buy something, just pull enough out to put into our accounts to be able to buy whatever we need to buy in today's world. I'm thinking about today's world. Then maybe you have
so in today's world, I'm listening probably to at least listening or reading at least 2 hours a day, only Bitcoin now. And so I'm breaking up, we can only, the reason why I want to expand this podcast is because I want other people sitting in seats talking about similar things, because I don't have bandwidth to do all of it and study all of it and research and share. So we need more people doing the same thing in my opinion, and then having conversations about it. But to your point, there's a lot of really new things happening that is making that easier and easier.
It is
like Lightning now is a platform that basically I think holds a storage of Bitcoin that's not personal, and it's basically an intersection where if I wanted to pay you via Lightning, it wouldn't be nearly as difficult or time consuming. That I could just set up a transaction, and Lightning basically is the middleman that is the protection, and it speeds up the transaction. So for me, kind of what you said is true, but at the same time, the fact
that's me paying you. I'm talking about buying goods. Like right now, buying goods.
Yeah, you can't go to the grocery store and do it.
Right.
But I think that's I don't think that's as far away as what you might think. I mean, you think about
it may not be.
Well, you think about AI systems and new apps and platforms. I mean, I really think that's the thing that all Bitcoiners are trying to figure out right now. So you got all the investment from the high end people of the monetary side of things. Obviously, you've got banks and monetary institutions that are trying to put their toe in there, but they're using other fiat, not fiat, but I'm going to say shit coins, but
like altcoins.
So the thing with people that are truly orange pilled, like all they talk about is Bitcoin. They don't believe in any of the other things. Mm-hmm. And I'm probably more to that side, not because there might not be some value in some of those other things. Like stable coins and those things, I think will be a good transition for people understanding how it works. Mm-hmm. So you can use a stable coin, or you can use one of these other Ethereum or whatever, or whoever gets to the market first. Then it's going to get people more education in what cryptocurrency is, and then you'll have to make the decision, which one's best. And I haven't heard any real good argument that leads to promise of anything beating Bitcoin. That's just me right now. I could be proven wrong.
I could put my $1 million idea out there for somebody else, because I don't know how to necessarily make it happen, or maybe you and I need to try to make it happen. But if you could come up with a middle ground, I guess kind of like Lightning, but be able to attach it to either your Google Wallet or your Apple Wallet, be able to pay, because like for instance, I was at the Cardinals game and they're cashless now. So I was sitting there using my NFC chip in my phone that I have my debit card attached to, and I was just paying for things with my Apple Pay technically. Mm-hmm. So if I could just have my Bitcoin wallet attached to Apple Pay, then that would do pretty much what I'm talking about doing.
You could pay.
You would just need a middle company.
I think Cash App Cash App should not be very far from that.
I don't think I could have a Cash App account connected to my Apple Pay. I don't believe. I think
I'm not saying Apple Pay.
It would have to. Well, any kind of pay.
If you want to use Bitcoin,
it would have to. That Cash App would then have to put that money into my checking account.
Here's what I'm saying. Well, I'll let you come back, but Cash App will hold your Bitcoin.
Okay.
So you can buy $100 worth of Bitcoin or $1,000 worth of Bitcoin or whatever.
It's a wallet,
and it'll sit there.
Right.
So all they need to do is have Cash App to where it will convert whatever it is at that time to equal the dollar amount that they're asking for on the other
Exactly.
end.
That's what I'm saying too.
Yeah.
We're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
I just need to be able to attach my crypto wallet to a payment structure.
Yeah.
And you're saying the exact same thing. Cash App is just the wallet, where mine, I happen to use Binance for my wallet, but I need to be able to attach that account to a payment system. So I'm saying Apple Pay because I've got an iPhone here in my hand. Mm-hmm. If you've got an Android phone, I think Google Pay is. I think you put your wallet and you can do NFC stuff with Google Pay. So if the wallets would allow themselves, and it might, maybe I need to do a little more research to be perfectly honest, because I haven't thought about this. But if the wallets could be added as an account for your Apple Pay, your Google Pay, whatever, to charge to. Or even let's say, well, I don't want to say PayPal because you really can't buy groceries. I'm just trying to figure out how to buy goods, how to go buy your fuel, your food, you pay your electric bill, whatever. If you had something like Apple Pay and you were able to connect your wallet to it, then I think you would be able to do that. So I guess you just have to find somebody who's willing to do that first.
Well, I mean, there's a couple different ways that you can get through it. And I think there are a lot of high-end developers and app developers and coders that are trying to figure out that. I mean, there's a lot of money to be made there. And so, I think that's coming much sooner than what you think.
Then you have to figure out who pays the fees on that. Yeah. Because if you like if I use my debit card, I don't have to pay a fee.
Right.
So now if I have to start using my my crypto wallet, but then I need to pay some kind of fee to be able to do this. Well, then it becomes less tantalizing. Like, yes, I need to get away from the monetary slavery of my world or whatever you were talking about.
Well, that's
there.
a journey.
But you know, the merchant pays for it in today's world. You have merchant service systems that whenever I pay with my card or whatever,
they don't pay for it. They make their goods that they sell you a little more expensive to pay for it.
Well, okay, fair enough. But it's still, there's a channel for money to be to change
right.
hands to pay for the ability to be able to use your debit card right. at the grocery store, right? And right now, there's not they don't pay any type of system to do that. Because if somebody created a system to where a wallet could be attached to Apple Pay and you could use that Apple Pay to pay, that whoever created that middle connection is not getting any type of benefit out of that. Like, they're not getting paid for what they created. So we're gonna have to come up with a way to figure that out. And right now, the way that I'm pretty sure that they would set that up to where how they would get paid would be through like if you want to buy $50 worth of groceries with your Bitcoin, you're gonna end up paying $55 or $52 or whatever. And that $2 is going to go to whoever allows.
Well, I think to me it's more akin to cash price versus credit. Like a lot of local businesses I see even now, like if you pay cash, it's a certain amount, it's a lower number. If you put down money, or if you pay credit, it's $1.50. You know, whatever it is.
Yeah, you're paying the cost.
You're paying
for the
right there,
right.
but it's something you can see, so you know exactly what you're doing, so you can make the decision.
Right.
Like if I want to save that $2 or $3 or whatever it is, go to the bank, pull out cash, plop your cash down.
Right.
I mean, the good old way.
Right.
You know, and I understand that's not convenient, nor is using crypto right now. But again, I think the moral of the story from the book, I think that I find myself having to beat my head over and over again, is convenience is great. You know, and we become creatures of convenience in all capacities. Everything is simpler, everything's faster. You know, we attach that to better. You know, faster, easier equals better. I think that's part of our education. I think that's part of what, you know, we just, again, creatures of comfort. But I think if we reteach ourselves that in some instances, if you want to fight the bad actors out there, there are things that aren't always going to be super convenient and super easy. Like you gotta invest a little bit more time in things when it comes to protecting yourself from harm. Right.
And that's what I'm trying to, I'm trying to cut out the financial institution. I'm trying to think of a way to cut out the bank.
Yeah. Like going directly to a mining facility. Like, you know, there's, you know, mining facilities basically are making sure all the transaction and all the Bitcoin is proper. Mm-hmm. So there's got to be some kind of way that they can interact with the miners, I would say, the mining machines, and work on that network. I think that's what Lightning's trying to accomplish. If you listen to that, I forgot, I don't know, was it Archie or something? But the guy that's on there, he's in that realm, and he's talking about that a lot. Had I known we were going to get this deep into Bitcoin, I probably would have pulled some of those clips up. But yeah, so
we can start climbing out of the hole. We don't have to keep going deeper.
No, I don't. No, I think this is really. Who knows? I don't know how long we're going to talk tonight, and this was more of an experiment than anything. And this stuff is very interesting to me, and I'm still trying to learn. But I know you've been in it a little bit longer than me. So I want to pose this to you in a way, and it's probably, I don't think, I can't get in trouble for it because I'm not doing it. I'm not planning to do it, but let me just throw something at you here and let me know what you think.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So, you know, as we get older and as our parents get older, we, at the end of life for a lot of people, they end up dying broke because, you know, they've spent whatever money they've saved in nursing homes, in dementia care, and all these illnesses that we're riddled with, right? And then once you, quote unquote, don't have enough, you know, you don't have any money, basically Medicaid and Medicare will then take over at that time. Mm-hmm. So that's why people do trust, estate planning and set up trusts and all that thing. Mm-hmm. So imagine this. So let's make it a round number. Let's imagine your dad had $1 million, mm-hmm. and he's getting to kind of it doesn't really matter how old he is. He's just trying to protect as many assets as he potentially can, which we all should be doing. Mm-hmm.
To be able to give to his future generation, right?
So how can we orange pill more and more people?
That's super easy because they don't track Bitcoin.
Well,
no one will know.
Well, so
you're not going to have a state tax thing,
especially if you do, if you do self storage. So what I don't think a lot of people understand is you can buy Bitcoin. I'm actually going to buy a Trezor.
Yeah. Trezor wallet.
Yeah, Trezor wallet. And so basically, I'll buy it'll be a peer-to-peer purchase, which takes any kind of tracking basically out of it. I don't know where I'll buy it through, but I'll end up downloading it to this device, and it's not trackable. So let's just say your dad had $1 million. He wants to and he doesn't believe in the stock market or whatever. He just wants to hold cash. Why wouldn't most of us put something into a Bitcoin cold storage and put it into the safe or put it wherever it is that you're going to save it and hedge against basically the health medical government coming in and taking what you spent your entire life trying to build, which is what they'll do anyway. If you've got 401, if you've got whatever, if you're not properly planned and you don't have a good estate plan, your money will get depleted. It'll be gone.
Yeah.
So
I can speak to those grandparents I was just talking about, the one that passed away of COVID. That's exactly what, not exactly. We kind of had a little more forethought, but once you get into a system, so we couldn't create trusts and things once they had to get into assisted living. So at that point, yeah. Just telling me would have probably been quicker than doing all your dance over there.
We got to get a signal.
You were on camera doing the woohoo, hey. Anyway, so once they got to that point, then they start tracking, everything. So right before we did that, we didn't have time to do estate planning or anything. We knew that each of the older grandkids and then their kids we just pretty much wrote check.
Got a gift.
Just got a gift of money. And that we all knew that money was earmarked not for us, it was for them, but we're just holding it for them pretty much. And so that's the way we did it. And I'm saying this, I'm probably going to have people ready to arrest me out in the driveway once I leave, because you're not really supposed to do that. But like you said, we had to do that because they will be in one side of the facility where they pay an astronomical amount of money. I don't know, $3,000 a month or what. I don't remember what it was. I think that was pretty close actually.
I'm managing one right now and it's $7,000 a month.
Okay, well, there you go. An astronomical amount of money, especially since there were two of them, until they're bled dry. And then once they're bled dry, they go to a different side of the facility that's not as nice. I mean, they were taken care of, and it was not. It was, as far as assisted living or nursing homes go, it's a nice one. But when you go from assisted living to nursing home side to where the government's going to kick in, start paying them to do whatever it is that they're going to do to take care of you, there's definitely a downgrade in quality somewhat. So they went through that exact thing. And, I don't know what they could have done necessarily, because you can do, like you said, estate planning, trusts, those kind of things. Or if we had just taken some of their money and threw it in a Bitcoin cold storage and a Bitcoin wallet, like you said.
Yeah, so the only time it comes to a real problem if people wait too long. Yeah. And if something happens to their mental capacity and they can't do that, you can't just take money out of someone's account.
Right.
So, it's important to have these conversations when you're very young and very healthy, and think about the pros and cons. Obviously, if you put you buy Bitcoin, you put it in cold storage, and Bitcoin, even though no one's been able to knock it down, I mean, if it bottoms out or something happens, obviously you can lose money like you can in any monetary system. For me, these types of questions, though, as we look at protecting, our future and our kids' future, to me, it has so much potential to protect us from tyranny. I mean, it really feels like you spend all your, they tax you every which way to Sunday for every dollar that you earn. They're printing more money, so they're debasing the money. Inflation is taking more money, so you're just making less and less, working the same amount or harder.
That's right. I feel like real estate is a little bit of a something decent to have, but then you have inheritance taxes and things from that. So I mean, you lose a bunch of money, and if you can't afford,
they'll take it from you.
A lot of people's favorite show, Yellowstone. Well, maybe I should say spoiler alert, or maybe I shouldn't even say this. I don't know. But this comes into play where it's such an astronomical bit of inheritance that the kids can't pay the inheritance tax, So they got to figure out something to do. So
it happens in farming a lot.
I'm not going to go any further into it because I don't want to give away if people haven't finished Yellowstone. But for anything, yeah, you go for farming or whatever it might be. If there's so much land there, so much, or if it's a multi-million-dollar home and and there's not enough, the estate can't, or they can't pay the inheritance tax and everything, then that kind of goes out the window. But I think right now real estate is a pretty decent place to have something there for your kids. But Bitcoin maybe, or any type of stocks and bonds and things, all of those things have the ability to lose as well, I guess. So, I mean, I don't really know what you could do to just promise tomorrow financially for your kids, but that is a good amount of bourbon you're pouring, sir.
Yes, sir.
I'm really happy to get my payment this evening.
It is the time. So for me, I'm not an expert in Bitcoin. I'm not an expert. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not telling anyone to do any things that I'm talking about. I think we have to say that with everything, including when we talk.
I'm not an attorney.
I'm not an attorney. Do not take my advice.
Yeah.
But for me, this is conversation. You put, two semi-intelligent, one much more intelligent person in a room with somebody else, and they just have questions they want to bounce off of. These are the types of things to me that, again, my primary goal here is fighting tyranny. And when it all comes back to money, and they are in control of the money, that's a real problem. That's it. It's something that to me is like, if it always comes back to money, then your first principle should be to attack at the monetary level. Your first principle to fight tyranny should be, can we fight this particular segment of tyranny with changing our money habits and changing our money education and changing how we're investing things. There are more and more companies that are paying people in Bitcoin now. I haven't looked for a job in a very long time, but I'm actually thinking about putting in an application for one. There's a remote, it's some kind of a marketing thing, but it's marketing for Bitcoin. But the interesting part of it is, again, you're making money in Bitcoin. And so, as soon as I'm sure whenever they pay you, their, income taxes have to be paid if that applies to you in your region.
Or maybe they just put it on you to pay your taxes if you want to pay your taxes, because there's no way to track. There would be a payroll.
Well, depending on how much you're making. I mean, you go to a country that doesn't have income taxes. This country is that it's based out of. I don't know what their things are, but I mean, maybe you wouldn't have to pay if you had a second home in El Salvador or something, and they're not collecting capital.
A 20 by 20 foot deeded piece of land.
Hey, I'm looking at all in here because when we're having these conversations, I'm not thinking about what honestly you and me might do in 10 or 20 or 30 years. I'm thinking on down the road to our kids. We, even opening their mind to these concepts and thinking about these things at a level makes them really think deeply at a level of, why does this matter? Why is this important? Because I think that's, I talk about education a lot. I think it's one of the things that our education system hasn't always done a great job at. And I'm not talking about the teachers. I'm not talking about any particular school. I'm just talking about when they teach a subject, they really don't tell you why it's important and how to apply it in your life or how it will be important. And I think if you start with that, if you say every kid has to take what is money class every year or whatever it is, teach them everything about money.
Well, that's kind of economics. I took an economics class. I don't think they teach that anymore.
But that was a government created curriculum, and they were teaching us economics about why to worship the dollar. Now, I'm not here crapping on the dollar and say the dollar's been by far one of the best currencies there has ever been, but it's not great anymore. And so our kids, though, are not taught to understand what that even, what is he even saying? What do you mean it's not great? I can still go buy these pair of shoes and whatever, and they're young. They didn't know that same pair of shoes was $20 and now it's $120, and they don't see how that affects everything else because they're just not, they haven't been around enough. You and me have seen it. We've seen the price of steak go from $4.99 a pound to $12.99 a pound, and so there's or more.
Well, if you even think about that, think about like a single income guy working in a factory would make enough money in 1950 to be equal to two people. Yeah, I know. Sorry. Two people in a home. Now it's right. Two people in a home making a total of $150,000. Like it's an astronomical change. I'd have to get on
I should have had that
website
clip.
or something.
I've read something recently.
But I mean,
about that.
it's an astronomical amount. You could buy a car, a home, feed multiple kids, clothe multiple kids
off a blue collar job,
off of a single blue collar job.
Wife could stay at home,
70 years,
take care of 5 kids.
70 years ago, 60 years ago, whatever it is. And it's just, it's crazy. And that's the change of the dollar. So if in 1950 somebody put $20,000 that would have bought you a home in cash buried in the backyard, that $20,000 today is a down payment on a car.
Unless they were original silver coins or something.
If it was something that would go up in value, yes. But I mean, this is where we're talking about the power of the dollar and what it's worth and what it will be worth or can be worth. And part of that I think is getting off the gold dollar, the gold standard. But anyway, it's crazy how much that has changed over time and how everything has gotten so much more expensive as well. And it all has to do with the dollar, like you're saying.
Well, I wanted to have this conversation with you today specifically about Bitcoin and about our dollar because we don't really ever talk about it in any depth. I think we've shared a bunch of clips over, the however many podcasts we've done together. There's been some Bitcoin clips mixed in there, but there's really not been any why this is important.
Well, like you said, you don't track it. Can't track it.
I wasn't knowledgeable enough to even understand, what I knew and what I didn't know. And so part of this journey, again, is, we're trying to get people to join us in these conversations and to think about ways to fight back about what's going on. We can, whatever the different things that Neil said in the book about, I don't want to say burying our head in the sand, but basically just being compliant and letting the authorities and the politicians just continue to do the things that they're doing. And in the meantime, there are ways around that. When they started censoring people and only giving us certain news that they wanted us to hear, people created podcasts. And when YouTube was censoring people, well, Rumble come to the scene because they were going to be a full free speech platform. And these other platforms have come to the platform. I think there's a platform just for Bitcoin people. Now, I forgot what it is, but a guy told me about it. And I'm going to talk about that probably in one of the next podcasts. But to me, I want to challenge you because I want you to be
me or the listener.
You
okay.
And the listener. Right. I mean, the listener. I want the listeners to learn that I'm not telling people to buy Bitcoin. I'm not whatever. I think if you start reading and you start listening to some people and you start listening to their why and to looking to the future about how to fight tyranny and different things, I think again this kind of has to be something that you and I need to be closely paying attention to. You and me, meaning the audience, but you specifically because we're going to talk about it. Because I feel like I want to sit here and have these conversations. I want to continue pointing out hypocrisy and lies, and I want to demand more out of our public officials and demand transparency and accountability. At the end of the day, we have to demand more out of each other. We have to, if you teach your kids about Bitcoin, let's just say Bitcoin because that's what we're talking about. I teach my kids about Bitcoin. They can have conversations about it. I mean, my kid's talking about it right now. He's like, Dad, did you know Cash App? You can buy Bitcoin and you can. I'm like, yeah, isn't that cool? Because we're listening to podcasts every day, and he's not a big talker, but he listens. He just kind of sits there and he'll listen to podcasts and he won't say anything about it. And then like the next day he'll have done some research and he'll come back and he'll show me something. So I mean, I think it's planting.
But the question is, does he listen to your podcast?
He listens to some clips and reels. I mean, he's a lot. I mean, we're a lot like each other, and I'm a lot like my older son too. But so I mean, I think part of it is for me is like there has to be a means to an end of what we're doing here. The fighting part, the actual trying to solve problems and not just highlight things and bring them to the surface so everybody can know what's going on. I mean, for me, I'm looking for tools in the tool belt, to protect myself, my family, my wife, my kids, because we're now pretty close friends, I think. I want you to be educated in whatever ways that you can protect yourself and your family and whatever, because that's the only way we grow our community again. That's the only way that we can hold people accountable and fix things is actually communicate and talk about it. I don't know if I didn't leave you an open-ended question there at all.
Yeah, no, not so much.
Not so much.
I'm trying to think of where we could take
Well,
it.
just tell me where you are in your Bitcoin journey, and just what your general thoughts of it as of it right now, and like tell me what do you think would excite you more, or get it to where it's something that you would go out and say, I've been orange pilled. You should really consider this. You should listen to this, and what would make it come to that point where you want other people learning about it?
I think it would be, well, I mean, I want everybody to learn about it. But I think that some of it would come down to being able to utilize it for your everyday spending. Although I did just a little bit of research, and I didn't think about it, but I did know that you could get cards. You can get Bitcoin cards, like almost like credit cards or whatever, that you can put Bitcoin on, and you can attach those to your wallet. So I mean, there are some hoops I guess you can jump through even today to where you could utilize your Bitcoin for just buying your groceries or buying your fuel or whatever. It's just
the only issue with that is, and people might not know the difference, is that is a centralized solution as of right now versus a decentralized. So you're basically playing with the banking and banking. You're in the banking.
Yeah, you're
now.
still in the system, but I mean,
so it's trackable, traceable. Like part of the Bitcoin story is if I want to pay you $5,000 a month for something that is no one's business, then we can do it in Bitcoin through cold storage, transferring it to you, and nobody knows that I gave it to you. And if you're fighting tyranny, a lot of people get debanked. A lot of people that say the wrong thing about. It's critical about the wrong person. They get their bank accounts closed. They'll get canceled. I mean, there's things that I think that tyrants will do by tracking everything that you buy and everyone that you give money to. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, no. So I think that's going to be, the big reason to do it would be being tracked, knowing your spending habits and that kind of stuff. Like I said just a little while ago, to be able to utilize that really in a day-to-day would require you being able to somehow attach your wallet or your account to a payment platform. Right now you could get, and I didn't really look at it enough to know, let's say you can use a crypto debit card that can be added to Apple Wallet to spend Bitcoin. I don't know enough about that to know whether or not you do have to utilize any type of financial institution to be able to get that Bitcoin debit card or not. I don't know if it's just a means to attach your wallet to a card number, and then that card number is what you can attach to your wallet. I mean, there may not be tracking in that. Pretty much unfortunately, I need to do a little more research to be able to get that deep into it, because I haven't used it in that capacity. As I said earlier, I've kind of used it more as an investment tool.
Mm-hmm. And that's totally where I am. I'm not using it to buy anything. I want to learn how to, so I know how to. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's really it. Because I don't plan on using it. To me, I would rather use a dollar than give up the future earning that Bitcoin will have by staying in place. Because let's say you take out $1,000 to buy something, or 5,000 or 100,000, and then Bitcoin quadruples or doubles overnight, you're like, how much did I really just pay for that thing?
Well, but you're kind of almost prepaying inflation though at that point. Like you're at least fighting inflation by doing what you're doing and buying the thing. Yeah, you're pulling money out of the Bitcoin to pay for the other thing, but if you're someone who is orange pilled enough to, orange pilled. I said peeled as if like you're peeling an orange.
You could peel an orange.
If you're orange pilled enough to want to just throw all of your money into Bitcoin and only pull out when you have to buy things with it, that's more where my thought was that eventually, if you really want to fight this financial slavery that you were talking about on that video, or on that book, you would almost have to put all of your money into the Bitcoin reserve, and then only pull out when you, then by doing that, you're fighting inflation.
Do your monthly budget, put everything that in the Bitcoin, and only pull out what you need to pay your bills.
Right. Now the downside to that, so with inflation, yes, inflation always goes up, but you don't. I guess would be the same thing as if Bitcoin goes down. It's like if you put all of your money, if I get paid today and I put $5,000 in Bitcoin, and then overnight it drops in value, well, now I've just lost money that I would have had I kept it. But also, in the flip side, it could go up, or it will most likely in the long term go up. But so, I mean, there's just things you got to kind of.
That's kind of why I said I think my own personal feel right now is I would keep whatever amount is the monthly budget out, just so it doesn't. I mean, I want to stack sats. Meaning, you know, that.
Did you say ass hats?
Stack Satoshis. I want to stack Bitcoin and not worry about what it's doing every day. You know what I mean? I don't want to think about it. And if we say, well, it takes us $3,000 a month to survive or whatever.
Well, if you want to use it as like a 401k, like that's almost what you're talking about, like almost as an not really a retirement tool, but as an investment tool. If you know that you need $3,000 a month, well, that'd be really cheap. Let's say you need $5,000 a month to make everything go, but you make $8,000 a month. Well, then that extra $3,000, just put it into Bitcoin. Yeah, absolutely. And you buy
some gold along the way.
Ride that. Well, maybe I don't know.
It's been pretty good. It's been a pretty good ride, but nothing comparatively. A physical gold, I would never buy any gold on the market. We've got somebody that my dad's, I think, going to be buying some gold from.
Physical gold.
Physical gold. So
I kind of lost the train there. Got derailed.
What were you talking about? We were talking about monthly budgets and what you're.
Yeah. Well, so if you want to use that as an investment tool, then by all means you can. But I think I'm kind of talking in around here. But I think eventually somebody needs to either create or figure out how to just attach it to a wallet, but also get the merchant to be able to pay the. Some people like you and I think if you make enough money with your Bitcoin, you'd be okay with paying 1% of the transaction as a fee to be able to use your Bitcoin and blah blah blah.
If they give us a cash discount, especially that's what
if there's but you've got to work with each individual merchant to do that. You can't. So there's going to be some legwork there to do. But I think once that's done, I think more of your everyman would be willing to invest in it or to see Not only are you buying an investment, but you can also at any point without any penalty pull that investment out to pay whatever you need to pay, and to look at, as you said, the long term. And really, the past I was just looking at it. I think the past 6 years have been the big Bitcoin boom, or maybe it was a little less than that, or a little more than that. Excuse me, but I mean. Let's see here.
So it jumped 32,000 just in the last year.
So actually a year ago today, it was 57,000.
Oh, so much more than that.
And today it's at about 111,000.
So it's jumped about
$54,000. It's
in the last year?
In a year. Yeah.
So and they can't promise it's going to do that.
So that's pretty much almost a double. So that's almost a double in a year.
No other investment tool has gotten anywhere close to that.
No, I feel good about the fact that I'm doing about 11% with my investments right now, and that was substantially more than that. That's 100%. I mean, that's literally you've made double of what you know.
Yeah, and it's again not debased and all that. So, I mean, I want to expand this conversation, and I know whenever Dr. Roy joins us again. I don't know how much I'll ask him to go in depth with what he's doing, but he's played with Bitcoin for quite a bit. I think he's definitely
pretty much buying it for investment. Also, I think he's in that same realm.
Yeah, and I don't think he needs the throw around money. I don't, he needs to pull in.
But he could be protecting money. I mean, definitely.
He's definitely an anti-tyranny trooper. There's no doubt about that.
I mean, there was who was it? Venezuela, whose dollar was garbage, and so they changed the country's dollar to Bitcoin, I believe.
I know El Salvador's,
or maybe it was El Salvador. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Uncle Jack, Dr. Jack Cruz.
No, I gotta look.
Dr. Jack Cruz moved there.
Uncle Jack,
because Bukele, I think might be the president. I think it might be the president of El Salvador. But anyway, he's the one that cleaned up the crime. It went from one of the most dangerous places in the world to one of the safest places in the world, and their entire economy is revolved around Bitcoin. Which, here is I'm going to say it. I don't understand if it's they're using it basically as their economy, how the tools of change and exchange and
that's what Venezuela
and purchasing.
That's what Venezuela's
doing it too.
Yeah, so because of hyperinflation, economic collapse, and U.S. sanctions, many Venezuelans have adopted Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies as a tool for their financial stability.
Yeah, so
I mean, they've had to adopt. I mean, because I remember seeing pictures or video of. They're people are just throwing their money in the street. Like it was garbage pretty much. It was
light fires with it.
Yeah, it was worth more as toilet paper than as $1 for their.
That's when you have bread line. That's when you have long lines just to feed your kids pasta and bread.
Yeah.
I mean that's scary. So again, it's a tool for long-term investment for me. It's also very much a tool to fight tyranny, because you think about the people of Venezuela. I mean, think about how many times their dollar, whatever their dollar's called, whichever they were using, has gone up and down and up and down and up and down. So they do all this to rebuild whatever, and then the government basically takes it away. I mean, their dollar's not worth anything because their government mismanaged it, or they spent too much. Whatever it is, they weren't able to keep it a viable tool for them to buy things. So,
see, I always think back when I think China, like when you have like 1 million yen to like pay for a gallon of gas or something. Okay,
I'm going to give you a little signal.
I know.
What signal do you want?
So when I'm going to be, over. Well, I guess when we get our new machine, I'm going to have a camera on me all the time again. So I'm going to have to figure all that out. But, when I think it's the yen, where it's just like 1 million yen is like $5 in U.S. currency. Like it's an astronomical amount of money, just that's worth very little. When you have that kind of, I don't know if you want to call it inflation, but I mean, to me, I feel like that's a type of inflation for them. You're gonna run into this problem. That's what Venezuela had. They had way too much paper money floating around versus what it was actually worth. And that's, I guess I just kind of defined inflation. But ultimately, that was their problem. Is they just had so much money. 10,000 of whatever their dollar was might have been enough to buy a cup of coffee or whatever, and it becomes a real issue. And like you said, thankfully, the U.S. dollar hasn't been mismanaged that much. But when you fire up the printers underneath the White House and just start throwing money out, it does become a problem. So hopefully we can reel that back in somehow a little bit. And I don't know if it's going to be trying to have some type of backing versus just a debt-backed dollar.
Well, Trump has both of his sons, I think, are pretty heavily involved in the Bitcoin community. Donald Jr. and Eric, I think, are both. They've been to a lot of the big, what do they call them? The Bitcoin conferences, like they do in Vegas and all around the world. And Trump, for those of you who like Trump, this might be a signal for you. He has dropped his own signals. I think having his sons involved in it and being out there is kind of saying something for him. I mean, you know what I mean? It's a signal that, and he drops little things. He right before he got elected, I mean, the Bitcoin community was one that definitely helped him get elected.
Yep.
And a lot of them still believe that he's trying to make the switch to making Bitcoin part of the standard to back up the dollar, which I think could potentially turn around our movement. But ultimately, I still think the Federal Reserve, unless we get rid of it, I don't think it'll allow us to really fix anything. So that's why I'm more of a long-term strategy. I think our kids probably will be dealing in Bitcoin if they want to, have a stable.
Yeah, there's so many, not only the value of the dollar, but just the cost of goods.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's what inflation is again. But I mean, I bought my house 8 years ago, and it's gone up in value by probably 50%, if not more, in just 8 years-ish. Mm-hmm. And that's ridiculous to me. Like, I feel like it shouldn't. Like, I get it. Like, there's only so much land and whatnot. But I mean, that's more than it really should go up. And I mean, even people now are having a problem. I'm completely switching gears on you, going away from Bitcoin. But people now are having a terrible problem just trying to buy homes, trying to buy a house. Yeah. Because, and I even, my wife and I were kind of looking at another house because we've kind of pushed the boundaries of our house. I mean, it's a good size house for just the three of us, for my wife, myself, and my daughter. But we kind of almost need a bigger home, and we want a basement, and blah blah blah, whatever. But due to COVID, I had a 3% interest, or I currently have a 3% interest rate. I refinanced, and now I have this really low interest rate. I don't want to pay 6.5% for a mortgage. If I were to buy my home right now, I would be paying substantially more monthly just because the interest rate's double. And so I think there's a problem there beyond just our currency and inflation. I think there's a real estate. I unfortunately think that there's another real estate bubble about to burst pretty soon. I think it's almost gonna have to.
Well, local leaders, government officials are talking about a housing crisis, but I think Joe hit it right. We have an affordability crisis. We really don't have a housing crisis.
No, I don't think we do. I think it's an I might be able to afford more, but I don't want I would be too strapped. I would be a little tighter than I really want to be. So I'm just going to stay at my house for another few years and see what happens.
And most people don't realize the reason why that has become that way. And I heard this and I backed it up with some research. I mean, every time a mortgage is written, that money does not come out of circulation. That comes from newly printed money. So every time someone buys a house or makes a bank transaction, they're inserting more money into the economy. That's part of the inflation problem. So they're not. It's so like your house. If you wanted to go buy a new house, it's going to be built with new money. So how do you do that? And how do you do that long term and not drive the price of every house up? I mean, that's just part of the thing. So part of our problem is too. And you said the cost of goods. Most of the things I don't really only think about is food. I mean, that's really the most important thing. I think
food, fuel,
and survival, energy. Yeah. So we've become way too consumerist. So I mean, I know, and that may sound anti-capitalist, but I mean, like all the crap that we
the crap you're talking about, I don't think it's inflated near as much as the necessities.
Yeah, you're
right. I think I bought my MacBook Pro in 2020. I think I probably paid about the same that I could buy a MacBook Pro for today. It's much more powerful because technology's gotten better, but I don't think the inflation has really hit that. Now everybody's going to yell about the tariffs and whatnot, but that's more of a bargaining chip, a way to get to keep power. But whatever. Ultimately, that inflation isn't really there. It's more the necessities that have really been inflated, I think, more so than just as you said, the crap, the non-necessities.
Well, I mean, that Apple device that we love and the one that we just ordered has a lot of competition out there, and it's raw competition from all around the globe. So I mean, they have to fight over price from one phone to the next and one computer to the next. So
right, well, that's the good thing about capitalism. Yeah. That's what screwed up our health insurance industry is whenever everything got on the it wasn't actually called Obamacare, but we'll call it Obamacare because he's the one that jacked it all up. When that happened and there was no longer actual competition, then it all went to hell. So now the competition is definitely what keeps it down. So like I was going to say, I bought this brand new iPhone last year for probably about the same that I bought the iPhone 3 years prior to that for. Mm-hmm. I mean, it really hasn't inflated.
And it's much more advanced.
Much more, yeah. The technology's gotten better, and the technology's probably gotten cheaper. So I guess if you really look at the technology being cheaper versus how much it costs, if they cost the same, maybe there is inflation there. But a tomato is a tomato, or a potato or whatever, and
tomato,
but it's doubled in cost or more probably in the past few years. So I mean, that is a definite issue. So like you said, the necessities are really going up, and you brought up energy. There's no reason for our energy to cost what it costs. And we've we've gone over Centerpoint. We've talked about Centerpoint a lot in the past few episodes. Well, and probably everybody's energy is probably going up, but ours has gone up a substantial 50% or more.
Ours has spiked faster than most anyone around the country, I think.
My church, I spoke to our pastor last week, and I was just like, how much does this affect you? And he goes, it hasn't been too bad. And I said, well, it's not too bad. He's like, we pay about $1,800 more a month now. I'm like, holy cat! I mean, it's a big one. It's kind of a larger church or whatever. But I mean, that's crazy. That's nuts. And like you said, the fact that the state where corporate office is at for our energy provider, energy's actually gone down in price there.
Yeah, we're paying for their cheaper prices.
But anyway, yep.
And because they can get away with it.
I can digress. Well, it's because honestly, the state of Indiana has, I don't quote me because I'm not sure who is at fault here, but someone has allowed a monopoly to occur and for it to be okay.
Oh, our state allowed it. Our state.
Was it state legislation or was it more regional? Okay, so it's state. So the state of Indiana,
every policy like that is state to state.
Okay, so the state of Indiana has allowed a monopoly on energy down here, and because of that, they can charge us whatever the hell they want because we have to pay it because we need heat and air conditioning and power for our refrigerator, and we're going to pay it. There's a gun to our head, and we just have to do it because there's nothing else we can do.
Right. So I mean that's another battle. That's another.
Sorry,
that's a whole nother.
We'll have to be here for another 2 hours if we start talking about.
I think we're about running to the end of the ship here. It's 8:30.
We're about done.
We're wrapping it up.
I still have some bourbon I'm drinking though.
I know I'm not in any rush, but I mean we
could listen to some Rush.
We've
we're not allowed to online.
No, we can't. We can't do that. That's no good. So let's
we could talk music though. Oh wow, that went down.
We can talk about music.
Excuse me.
We can talk about choking.
Rush, the best band ever. Should we talk about Rush?
To Rush.
to Getty, to Neil, to Alex. the Canadian trio that only smoked weed at their worst. Thinking Man's Rock. My wife doesn't like listening to them because she said, I don't want to think about, like, the lyrics make you think too much. I love the fact that the lyrics make you think. And when I die, there's a song called The Garden, and we listened to that. That's the one that got us, actually, that's the one that got us kicked off, so nobody's probably seen that episode because we weren't allowed to play that song. But there's a song called The Garden, and that will be played at my funeral. But anyway, I digress. We don't really have to talk about
How did we
music.
just come back around to death? Here, I was thinking about sharing some humor, and you're talking about your death and what song is going to be playing when you die. What's up with that, man?
I don't know.
So let's do a couple humor clips here.
Humor clips. All right.
Now this is a kind of a long one, so it's going to take a little bit of time. But
That's what she said.
oh, see, you need your all your noises over there.
Yeah, I don't have anything over
All
here.
right, so I'm the one controlling the sound. So bear
are.
with me if this doesn't come out right. So this is a parody. It's meant for humor. It is making fun of Democrats.
Germany in 33. Oh, is this what I sent you?
It might be. So if you can watch the video at this point, switch over and watch it because it is kind of a funny reel. It's 4 minutes long. So if you don't like what it is, I'm sorry, but we're trying to end it with some humor here, and it's pretty funny.
Sehr gut.
This is supposed to be Hitler.
Yeah.
I'm a time traveler from the year 2025, and I've come here to kill you, Hitler.
Oh, not again. I'm never gonna have enough time to finish these paintings with all of these time travelers trying to kill me.
Well, I'm going to succeed.
Before you pull the trigger, can I just ask why? Why do all of you people want to kill me?
Isn't it obvious? I'm a progressive, a liberal, a fighter for social justice. And you are a fascist who implemented a reign of terror. And while the effects of your policies devastated the world for decades, soon we will be able to take back the White House, and we will be able to use the government to force people to follow our great ideas.
You want to use government power to force your ideas on the populace. Me too! That's fantastic!
What? No.
me.
You and I have nothing in common. What I'm saying is there are people in our time with dangerous ideas, and we need to silence them.
Silencing those who disagree with you. I do that too!
Oh, my goodness. Hey,
Oh, wunderbar! Oh, the Nazi movement will not die with me.
Don't give me that! I'm enlightened, and you're as bad as... well,
Hitler.
as Hitler. Listen, what I'm trying to say is we are very close to implementing a utopia, as long as we can get rid of some certain undesirable people groups.
Yes, like the Jews.
Yes, like the Jews.
Oh.
So, in the future, you also do not like the Jews?
Well, no. But we don't believe in segregating all the races like you do. I mean, except for, like, graduation ceremonies. And dorms. And hiring practices. Oh, and admissions policies. That sort of thing.
I, too, am a fan of the segregation. I'm sorry, I have to ask, is this a real firearm, or is this some kind of toy for kids?
It's a flare gun. I'm trying not to support America's toxic gun culture. I'm a firm believer in gun control.
Gun control! This was one of my ideas, too. Ban them from the undesirables. Yes, look here. Oh, and your shirt. This is an organization founded by Margaret Sanger. Yes?
Wait, you know about Margaret Sanger?
Jawohl, of course. Oh, she's such a lovely person.
No. She's a fighter for reproductive rights, for women's empowerment,
And the eradication of undesirable populations by means of eugenics. Brilliant lady, very inspiring. I must use some of her ideas in our socialized healthcare system.
socialized healthcare. That's not your thing. That's our thing.
No, it's very much my thing. Did you know that Nazi means National Socialist German Workers' Party? Nazi is just more catchy. Nazi. Rolls off the tongue.
No,
Rolls off the tongue.
this can't be true. This has to be some sort of mistake. We are nothing alike. You're Adolf Hitler, evil right-wing fascist dictator, and I'm a feminist restorative justice advocate. And a vegetarian.
You're a vegetarian? Me too!
Okay, I am so confused right now. I came here with a clear goal in mind to kill the most evil man who I've ever lived. Besides Ronald Reagan. But now that I'm meeting you in person, you're not at all what I thought you were. And your painting is actually really good. What do you call it?
I call it Ein Reich ohne Juden.
An empire without Jews.
I don't know what that means, but it sounds beautiful.
Oh my god.
It does. Doesn't it?
Did you send that to me?
I did.
Oh, that's funny.
I don't even know where I came across that. And not, once again, we're not necessarily Republican or Democrat, but my God, that is
pretty funny.
That's great.
Well, the hand, the arm can sway in either direction.
Yeah.
And you can, the people that want to take over and have power are the ones that are usually, they swing back and forth right to left pretty hard, typically when things get bad.
Well, that's what I think you were talking about it earlier, but I'm not really allowed to speak politics at my parents' home. Well, my mother's home.
Yeah, you've mentioned that.
And she is a Democrat of 30 years ago. Well, the Democrat of 30 years ago is kind of, oh my goodness, the Democrat of 30 years ago is kind of what the Republican is today.
Yeah.
Like it's done a full, I guess technically 180, but anyway.
I'm probably pretty close to a classic liberal, which is like a JFK Democrat, I would say.
Reagan.
Yeah,
Ronald Reagan is kind of in that same.
Some of the things with Reagan, history has, and my study has made me not like him quite as much, but it's on, I mean, each president's going to have things that you like and don't like. So I'm just not all in. I used to be pretty all in on Reagan, and I love the way he spoke. And he was a former Democrat, just like Trump, but
or like RFK, or
like RFK,
Tulsi
any of those guys.
or any of those guys.
Let's do one more funny one because I think
I thought that was great though.
That was
the
really
Hitler
good.
one.
That was really
good.
good.
It was pretty funny.
One more clip, and this one is of a guy named Shane Gillis.
Oh, I love Shane.
I know, he's so funny. And,
oh my gosh,
he's very good.
He got clipped. He almost dodged the. Never mind. He does a whole clip about the what does he call it, the handicap, the syndrome. He's like, I dodged
Down syndrome.
He's like, it nicked me, but I'm okay because he kind of anyway. He's funny. Anyway.
Yeah, they showed him a reel. He was just on with Rogan, and he made Rogan laugh so hard because he's sitting there. I went to this football game, and he drinks a lot. I went to this football game, and I got trashed. And I was down on the field, and I'm not sounding like him, but he's like, there was a group over here that just had these people with Down syndrome and handicapped, and there was a little low barrier, and I just stepped over it, and it was just sitting there, and he looks. I mean, he kind of
looks like he has down. Yeah, he kind of looks. That's why he talks. He's like, it clipped me. I dodged it, but it clipped me.
It clipped me.
And he has family who does have Down syndrome.
Yeah.
He talks about his uncle Danny who makes grilled cheese all the time, so that he takes grilled cheese with him to other restaurants just in case that restaurant doesn't offer grilled cheese. And there's a whole. He's funny. I love Shane.
My aunt was
funny.
I had an aunt that was mongoloid, but it basically is just like Down. It was very much like Down syndrome. And she was very much my playmate, and she lived in my grandma's house right next door to us. And so, like we played basketball. She helped me start my first business.
Some of the happiest people.
Oh my God!
He once again, if you don't know who Shane Gillis is, listener, then you need to go out and kind of check him out because a lot of people try to act like he's a terrible person for talking about Down syndrome and handicap and stuff so much.
They talk about him because he acts like Trump. He does a really good Trump impression.
He does do a really good Trump impression, but he also talks about how like his Uncle Danny is never upset. He's like a dog. He's always happy to see me. Yeah, he's like hey, look what I did today. Come on, Shane, Uncle, whatever. Anyway, he's funny. Definitely take a look.
So if you look up Shane Gillis on Facebook, if you're on Facebook and you look it up on Facebook, his reels will pop in your feed a lot more,
and you won't be upset about it.
I don't think so.
Here, I'm gonna go to the feed. Let's see what you got.
You fought this fire for 3 hours.
Yeah. It was pretty brutal up there.
Can you confirm this is you?
He's got to make America great.
This is.
We have an unnamed source claiming you may in fact be a white supremacist.
I'm not a white.
Let's see some more footage.
Dude, I love Trump. I love Donald Trump so much, dude. What the Oh, it's this guy.
He saved my family!
Yeah, I saved his entire family up there.
Excuse me, sir, are you aware that this man is a known racist?
That's not true. That's not true. No truo.
More on this developing story about the racist firefighter who touched Guatemalan children in their home after breaking down their door with an axe.
say it like that?
Well,
God.
Shane, you fought this fire for
Is that it, or is there more?
No, that's it. Flip it over to us.
Oh my gosh!
I could have got.
Guatemalan children in their home after breaking down the door. Holy cow!
Oh, that was the perfect kind of pull together of comedy and how media has basically labeled, the whole right wing, all the people that follow Trump, calling them all kinds of names. I mean, this stuff is so funny, but it's partially funny because it's true.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's kind of
how you can omit certain information to make it look awful.
Yeah. So to kind of wrap up where we are today, I think using Bitcoin is a part of a strategy for me for fighting tyranny. I believe humor and comedy has to be also part of that. And if we lose that ability to be able to laugh at people, laugh at each other, laugh at crazy shit that goes on in society, then, we've effectively lost to tyranny.
And we have to, humor crosses some lines, but they cross lines for the sake of a laugh.
Oh, yeah. Or
people get
to teach a lesson.
Well, yeah.
Sometimes it's a laugh, but it's also a lesson.
People try to cancel comedians for what they say, but it's a joke. We used to be able to handle a joke.
George Carlin or Eddie Murphy
usage of
the Richard Pryor
usage of the F word.
Oh my God.
By Carlin. Oh, it's great. God. But anyway, people try to cancel these comedians. They're just trying to make you laugh.
Yeah.
Laugh and get over it. Yeah. I don't care if they want to make fun of Trump just because I voted for Trump. Fine, go for it. If you want to make fun of somebody else, fine, go for it. If you want to make fun of a race or what, it. Unfortunately, stereotypes exist.
Well, you wouldn't do it, but that doesn't mean somebody should not.
But Shane Gillis can do it.
Shane Gillis,
he can bust down a Guatemalan door and touch the children to help save them from a fire. But
it's very true.
Anyway, I wish we could get back to where comedy can be comedy, and nobody has to worry about cancellation or whatever. It's just comedy. It is what whatever. Anyway, that's what I have to say. Yeah.
I'm wondering. I just was going to try to. No.
What else you got? You got another one?
No, I was just going to look and see.
I think we're getting short on time, but
we are. No, we're running real quick because if you've never heard Shane Gillis do Trump, he does a really good Trump. So I'm going to
on Kill Tony. He does a great Trump on Kill Tony.
I'm going to try to do this one. Just
debate the other day. You said illegal immigrants are taking black jobs. What the fuck are black jobs?
The illegal immigrants are being extremely loud on buses. They are all types of stuff that we said this used to be blacks. Remember when this was blacks and we liked it when they were black because they could dance and they were fun. And now the people that are Mexican are not fun.
Watching y'all niggas all day is crazy, bro. I've been up there laughing my ass off.
You were on Kill Tony. I knew it would be the Kill Tony.
Yeah.
Like he's doing Trump on Kill Tony. It's hilarious.
It is so funny. Anyway, bro, I appreciate this.
You used to call me bro.
I did. Man, a great experiment. I feel like we could do this. I know you're very busy raising a family and with your other job. So I hesitate to ask you to prepare anymore or be ready to come. But I love this conversation. I feel like we could really get into some really good rabbit holes and potentially solve some problems together. And I appreciate everything you've done for the program, everything you do every week. I think, and the people that we've never seen Travis. There's several people
they have now seen Travis.
I'm going to say the infamous Travis makes an appearance today on these reels, and it's going to get a lot of clip views, I'm sure.
Unfortunately, it's not a great look. Like I wish I looked like Hugh Jackman or like Ryan Reynolds or something.
Well, we were making fun of you earlier. Like you have a face for radio.
I do have a face.
You're a pretty handsome dude, but I mean, you're not my type.
Got a little extra chunk on me, but it is what it is.
We both got that going on. Anyway, I love you. I appreciate everything you do. Thanks for everything you do.
Yeah.
Thanks to everyone for watching. And if you can, share, create comments, especially in videos. That's doing a really good a service to us and helping us get the program out. Thanks again to Uncle Jerry and to my buddy Jeff, who continues to be a big supporter of the program. Anyone else that's willing or interested in supporting the program, I would like to create a couple more shows per week. It necessarily might not be me in front of the camera every time, but along the same vein of trying to solve these problems is kind of what we're at. And if local media won't cover it and inform us the way we need to be informed, then we need to do it ourselves. And that's kind of what we're trying to do here. So appreciate you. Love you all. See you next time.
Have a good night.